Let's go next to Mike from Massachusetts. Mike from Massachusetts, welcome to the program. What's on your mind? Mike from Massachusetts, you've got to accept my invitation to join the discussion.
Oh, sorry, didn't know about the accept part. How you doing, David?
Hey, I'm doing well, thank you.
I don't have so much of a question, but just kind of like an observation and what your thoughts might be on it. And I apologize if I sound kind of nasally, getting over a cold, but
no problem.
So I actually watched recently while I was, had some downtime on the couch getting over this cold. I watched a docuseries on Netflix called World War II in Color, which is pretty interesting. And there was an episode dedicated, at least partly, to the rise of the anti-Semitic policies in Germany and like how that came to be, because a lot of times people ask themselves, how did the German people not see this coming?
Yeah.
And what they described is, and I know people get tired of the comparison, but I mean, it is strikingly similar to narratives and things being said, not just about Jews, but other minorities in this country today, by the right. And, I mean, a lot of the argument as to why the German people never did anything is because a lot of them just assumed things would never go that far, quote unquote. They would never actually legalize persecution and whatnot. And I just am curious, like, how you think the two situations compared from today in America to them in the 30s.
This is so tough because anytime you delve into this, it's very hard to avoid either being not concerned enough or sounding hyperbolic and alarmist, right? So it's very, very difficult. So I'm going to try to speak as precisely as possible. I don't think that circumstances for Jews in the US today are anything like circumstances for Jews in pre-World War II Germany. I think the starting points are very different. I also think that we are seeing a growth of a rhetoric about Jews in the US, and that rhetoric is more acceptable than it's been for a long time, as we can see sort of like in the reactions to stuff Kanye said, where people going, listen, Kanye's just kind of telling the truth, or whatever the case may be. That scares me because it's the type of acceptance or at least disregard for the concern that was present in pre-World War II Germany. So I'm not equivocating, but I'm just sort of saying the circumstances are different, but a lot of the flippant attitude does seem similar. And I do think we need to be very concerned about that.
Right. And it's based on what the documentary talked about. It was those attitudes, people thought we can have these attitudes, it's fine, but it's never going to become policy until it did become policy.
Absolutely.
So it's just kind of interesting that people kind of feel like they could see these things coming, but really it's easier for it to slip by than people like to think.
Yep. I completely agree with you. I completely agree. And the trick is, if you go too alarmist, people dismiss you. So what we need to do is find a way to communicate the alarm in a way that's accurate, but that doesn't get people to just tune it out.
Right. I mean, and it's interesting, something else, and this will be my last point, I'll let you move on, but it's interesting, something else I learned from the documentary was the narrative of World War II is obviously, America and Britain and a few other allies fighting a courageous war against just pure evil, good evil, all that stuff. But something interesting I learned is that the Allies actually acquired a ton of evidence against tons of Nazi officers who participated in the Holocaust and exterminating the Jewish population as best they could.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, there was actually, and while the American population was outraged by it, there was actually a pretty large anti-Semitic voice in the US government that pressured the rest of the Allies to drop charges against these people in exchange for American financial aid following the war.
Yes.
So it's just interesting that there are things that that's a significant piece of information I did not know until the other night. And that's just one of these things that I feel is important for Americans to learn, but the right would never want anyone to learn about that.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Mike, I appreciate the call, okay?
All right. Have a good one.
All right. There's Mike from Massachusetts.